Welcome for the Building Project 2-Point Perspective tutorial. So I'm going to get things started. First, you're going to need a piece of paper. You're going to need a ruler, a pencil, as well as an eraser. To start this project, you're going to draw a straight horizontal line. This is going to be your horizon line. I'm doing it lightly because I am going to have to erase some parts of it. So please, when you're doing this drawing, make sure that you draw lightly. The second step is I'm going to draw my two vanishing points. Make them a little darker because you need to make sure they're consistent in order to have a consistent drawing. When we did our practice, we did 2 boxes above the horizon line and 2 boxes below the horizon line. However, for this project, we need to do a box directly over the horizon line. So again, in 2-point perspective, I'm starting with a line. I am connecting the bottom of my line to the vanishing point on the right. I'm connecting that line to the vanishing point on the left. I'm connecting the top of the line to the left. And the top of the line to the right. When we draw boxes above the horizon line, we are looking up at it. Therefore, we see the bottom of the box. When we draw it at the bottom, we see it like we're looking down on it, so we see the top. However, when we draw it crossing the horizon line, we don't see the top or the bottom. So next, I'm going to cut this box off. Okay. Now, because I know I'm drawing a building project, I'm only going to erase my top vanishing lines. I'm only erasing the top vanishing lines that I do not need. Next, I don't want to be able to see through my building, so I'm going to erase that horizon line because buildings are not transparent. So right now, I've drawn one building. My goal is to add windows to this building. If you look at a building, you'll notice the windows don't actually touch the edge of the building. They go about inside. So I'm going to draw one line here and one line here, making sure that they're about the same length. Okay. Again, these are vertical lines. And all verticals connect to a vanishing point. So I'm connecting the left line that I drew to the left vanishing point. However, my buildings aren't going off the side of the building, or the windows are not going off the side of the building, so I do not need to draw it all the way. I just need to make sure it's lined up. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the right-hand side, connecting the bottom to the vanishing point, stopping at the end of my building. Connecting the top to my vanishing point, stopping at the end of the building. I'm going to end these windows. And to be honest, I would like 2 windows. So about halfway through. Okay. So now if I erase this line in the middle, again, I just made this gap with 2 parallel lines. I now have 2 windows. If I want to make those fun crisscross or those checkers that go over windows, I absolutely can. But again, find the center, connect it to my vanishing point. The rule of doing 2-point perspective is every line connects to a vanishing point unless it's a vertical. If it's a vertical line, they all need to be parallel with each other. So this line will never touch this line, will never touch this line, will never touch, never touch, never touch, never touch. Every line connects to a vanishing point unless it is vertical. And if it is vertical, it needs to remain a parallel line. So I have 2 windows over here. I think I'm gonna probably make 3 over here. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Knowing that things get smaller in space, I'm not going to keep all 3 of these windows the same size because it's unrealistic. As we look further away, things look smaller. All right, so my bigger window, medium window, smaller window. It gets smaller as we look into space. Okay. Again, I'd like to do those fun crisscrossies. So just using my eyeball, I'm making a little tally in the center. Vertical line, vertical line, vertical line. Find the middle. Everything else connects to a vanishing point. So now I have 5 windows on my first building. But what if I want to do a door, right? So this looks like a very tall building. It looks like a 2-story building. So my door cannot be obnoxiously high, right? So I'm going to make a double door in the center of this building or on this wall. So I'm again starting with 2 verticals to make my double doors. And I'm connecting the top of the outside to the vanishing point on the left. I want a double door. So again, find the center. Okay. I need handles. Handles are about halfway up the door. Right, I just made little lines, and now I can actually slow down, take my time, and draw those handles. If you are a person who is detail oriented and you're like, I want a frame around my door, you can do that. Any line is a vertical line unless it connects to the vanishing point. As long as you follow the rules, any creative freedom that you would like to do within this project, you can do so. Again, if I only want a single door, I do vertical, vertical, connect to the vanishing point on that side. That's not straight. I want a handle. Any extra lines, I erase. So now building 1 is complete. On the left, whichever side, one building needs to be taller. So if I want this building right next door, how would I do that? I take that same vertical line and I make it taller. Now this is my new middle point. So I connect the top to the vanishing point on the right. I connect the top to the vanishing point on the left. So this looks weird because it's on the same exact line. So what I'm going to do is cut this building shorter so it looks realistic. What do you mean by that? It's a little artist trick. I'm cutting that building short so there's an edge, there's a back to the building. Let's say I want this one skinnier because it's taller. I cut it off. I erase the vanishing line only at the top. And I erase the horizon line in between because buildings are not see-through. So now I have a taller building. Again, I can make the same windows, different windows. It is up to you. Now, if I want a shorter building, how would I do that? So I have a short building, a tall building. Let's say I want a medium but shorter than that one. I connect that to the vanishing, where I just decide wherever I want it, connect it to the vanishing point, and end it with a vertical line wherever I want to end it. Again, erasing the horizon line in the middle because I cannot see through a building. So now I have a small, a tall, and a medium-sized building. Again, pay attention to detail, add your windows, add your doors, whichever. Oftentimes I get students that ask, what if I want a space like a side street or an alleyway? What you're going to do is you follow that vanishing line and you decide where you want your next building. Again, it's the same rules. Make sure my ruler's straight. I start with a vertical line. I connect that top to the vanishing point on the right. I can't draw through my building because I can't see through my building. I connect that vanishing point to the left. I have to end the building. Okay. I erase the vanishing point I don't need, or the vanishing line I do not need. I erase the horizon line because I cannot see through a building. And now this looks super weird. This defies the rules of perspective because this bottom line is attached to the left vanishing point, but this bottom line is not attached to the right vanishing point. So by doing that, now I have my street line. And that's how you would make a city block. You'll notice it's not the same line. They're not attaching. I'm not making any line up. It is either a straight, parallel, vertical line, or everything connects to a vanishing point. It's not like a cheat thing. That's how you draw accurately in 2-point perspective. So we have our horizon line, our 2 vanishing points, building, taller, smaller, alleyway. I started with some windows. Well, let's say I wanted to do like the skyscraper windows. Just for time's sake, I'm going to make like 1-inch windows-ish. So I'm just making little tallies here so I know where to draw my lines back. Again, when you look at different buildings or you look in a city landscape, each building is different. They're not identical. They don't all match each other. They may have the same style. So if you choose to do like a futuristic theme, absolutely stick with the same style. However, not all buildings look the same, so they need to be individualized or independent or designed just slightly differently. Okay? Again, we can have long windows, small windows, creepy little rounded windows. If that were the case, maybe I wanted to change this to a rounded window. I drew that same line and I round out my edges. I would draw those same exact windows, round out the edges to add that detail. So again, you have complete freedom here as long as you follow the rules of perspective. Moving forward, we did doors, and now I often get, what about a sidewalk? So if my doorway is about that thick, I need to kind of eyeball where my sidewalk would end. Again, I connect it to my vanishing points. Right? So that's kind of like an extension of where my, okay. And then what I would do, so I need straight lines on this side, which means I connect to the vanishing point on my left. If I'm drawing the lines out on the right, I connect to the vanishing point on the left. So here's one. I keep my vanishing point on the left to draw the lines to my right. Keep my ruler on the left vanishing point to draw the lines to the right. And as I rotate this, I'm just kind of eyeballing it and I'm making them smaller and smaller because things get smaller as it goes back in space. So just for expediting purposes, I'm going to round that corner out. Okay. So now it looks like my sidewalk goes back and goes around my last building. Okay. So if I want to draw something that appears to be going out on my left side of the paper, I need to connect to the right side vanishing point. Out. 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 Now I don't have a building here, so I'm going to continue it. Out. Again, getting smaller as I go back in space. I always miss that last one. I'll make it. Okay. So now I have my sidewalk. Well, what about a curb? If I want something to look taller, I add a vertical line. So using my ruler, I'm going to make the gap for my curb You'll notice about every line I draw, I'm using my ruler. Please use your ruler. That's why you have them. And then I make each and every one of these vertical lines to show that this curb goes up in space. So if I were walking in this image, I would have to step over this curb to stand onto the sidewalk from the street. Okay. So that's too thin. I can't necessarily draw it. Now I can. Vertical line. Vertical line. Now you'll notice these tend to be rounded out because they are wheelchairs, strollers, all those things. So I'm going to round my curve out. There we go. All right. So now I have a curb that looks like it's going up in space and then outwards. Next, if you wanted to do straight lines, so if I'm doing the straight lines on the left, right, it's off my paper, so it doesn't necessarily matter. And then I would draw it back in space. Connecting to my vanishing point. And then I would cut it off on my right-hand side. I'm not connected. There we go. Every line you draw that is not a vertical line connects to a vanishing point. And so forth and so forth. I erase these lines in between. And now I have accurate street lines. Again, my alleyway, attention to detail. I want that curb to go flat, like cars could drive into it. Okay. All right, so let's check the list. Sidewalk, street lines. Now, what about a tree or a flagpole? So let's say I want to do, or a light pole, a tree right here on this curb, because that's very possible. I'm going to start to make a little box using the left-hand side of my ruler to draw on the right sidewalk to make a box for my tree to stand in. And again, vertical lines. So that's a very straight tree. That's how you would get a light pole or anything like that. However, I'm going to make it a tree, and that's where I would make that more of an organic shape. Okay. Apparently this is full because it's a naked tree. Okay, there's my tree. Again, not directly up against my building. And that's it. That is 2-point perspective. The final step, once you've personalized, you've added your windows, you've added your detail, you've added different doors. Maybe you had stairs going up and then a door is even higher. Maybe you decided to add a billboard with vertical lines, connect back to the vanishing point. So this is gonna be really dramatic, right? Vertical, vertical, and now you have a billboard. So however you want to choose to design it and make it your own, make it your own. Absolutely. But when you're done drawing everything, that's when you start with your light source. So my light source is coming from my left-hand side, which means if this hypothetically is a gray building. Just like we did our shading in our 2-point perspective. I'm doing this quickly. You are going to slow down and take your time. Let's say this is a gray building. If my light is coming from this direction, that means this side has to be darker. So if this is a white building, then this would just be light. If this was, let's say, a darker building, okay, and then I wanted my windows even darker. If my light source is coming from this direction, that means this wall has to be lighter than this wall, which means I need to darken this whole wall. Which means now I've lost my windows. Which means now I've lost my tree, so I have to darken that up as well. So I'll do that very quickly, right? So again, you are going to shade this with an accurate light source. Much cleaner, much nicer than mine, hopefully. If you want a soft building, go ahead, all right? So again, you have complete freedom to do it. You've learned how to do buildings, you've learned how to do windows, doors, sidewalks, street lines, right? Whatever you do to the left, make sure you do to the right. Have fun, go crazy.